Gunfire cracked across the Indian Ocean as chaos erupted. Dozens of Somali pirate skiffs raced across the waves like a swarm of sharks, their AK-47s blazing and RPGs raised high. An Iranian fishing boat, slow and defenseless, became their target, its crew screaming, trapped in the middle of the sea with nowhere to run. But just when all hope seemed lost, Steel Thunder appeared on the horizon. A U.S. Navy destroyer was coming, and it would change everything. For years, the waters off the Horn of Africa carried a reputation of dread. Merchant captains, oil tankers, and fishermen all knew the same unspoken rule. If you saw a fast-moving skiff coming your way, you might never see home again. Somali piracy wasn't just a crime. It was an industry. By the late 2000s, attacks skyrocketed. In 2011 alone, pirates hijacked 237 ships and held over 3,800 hostages. Ransom money poured in, from $500,000 for a small vessel to more than $13 million for a supertanker. Entire coastal towns in Somalia began thriving on this bloody business. Brand new mansions stood beside huts, bought with ransom cash. Pirates cruised around in expensive cars, while their victims languished in makeshift prisons on the water. To the outside world, it looked like lawless waters. To the Somali pirates, it looked like opportunity. On this particular morning, an Iranian fishing vessel sailed slowly across the Gulf of Aden. For the crew, it was supposed to be another routine trip. Cast the nets, haul in the fish, and return home. The men were exhausted but hopeful. The catch had been good. Nobody suspected that death was already approaching at high speed. Suddenly, the horizon broke. Small dots appeared, growing larger with every second. Engines roared louder and louder until there was no doubt. Pirates. More than 10 skiffs cut through the waves, their bows slicing the water like knives. Each boat carried heavily armed men, some with scarves covering their faces, others grinning as they waved rifles in the air. The Iranian crew froze. They knew the stories. Boats hijacked, fishermen beaten, men disappearing forever. One of the crew shouted for everyone to hide below deck, but it was useless. The pirates were too close. The first shots cracked in the air. Warning shots. Bullets splashed into the water, only feet from the fishing boat. The sound was deafening. The crew dropped to the deck, covering their heads, their hearts pounding like drums of war. Families flashed through their minds. Would they ever see them again? The pirates shouted demands in broken English and Somali, waving their weapons. They wanted the vessel stopped. They wanted control, and they would kill for it. But fate was already turning. Somewhere far away, aboard the USS Farragut, alarms lit up. The Farragut wasn't just any ship. It was an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, one of the most advanced warships in the world. With a displacement of over 9,000 tons and a speed of 30-plus knots, it was built to dominate the seas. Its radar screens covered hundreds of miles, scanning every blip in the water. At that moment, a distress call came through. "This is Iranian vessel under attack. Pirates approaching fast? Need immediate assistance." The bridge of the Farragut went silent for a second. Then the captain gave the order. "Set condition 1 throughout the ship. All stations prepare for intercept." Within moments, sailors scrambled to their posts. Some rushed to weapon stations, others to communication hubs. The helicopter deck came alive with activity as a MH-60R Seahawk helicopter was fueled and armed. Its crew of Navy aviators knew their mission. Eyes in the sky, ready to fire if needed. The destroyer surged forward, slicing through the Indian Ocean like a steel predator. The distance between the pirates and the helpless fishing boat closed quickly, but so did the gap between salvation and destruction. Below deck, sailors suited up. The Visit, Board, Search, and Seizure VBSS team, highly trained Navy personnel specialized in boarding hostile vessels, checked their rifles, body armor, and gear. These weren't ordinary sailors. They were trained for close-quarters combat on the sea. Meanwhile, radar operators tracked the swarm of pirate skiffs. The numbers weren't small. At least 10 boats, maybe more, surrounding the fishing vessel. The captain knew this wasn't just a rescue. This was a battle. Back on the Iranian vessel, the situation turned desperate. The pirates had drawn so close that the crew could see their eyes, their scarred hands, their weapons gleaming in the sun. One pirate fired a shot directly over the heads of the fishermen, forcing them to the deck. Another began tossing a rope ladder, preparing to board. The fishermen shouted prayers. Some wept. Others gripped makeshift tools, a knife, a wooden pole, knowing it would mean nothing against rifles. Every second felt like an eternity. And then, a sound thundered across the sea. Helicopter blades. The pirates looked up, surprised. A U.S. Navy Seahawk helicopter swooped in low, its rotors kicking up spray, its machine gun mounted and ready. Over the radio, a booming voice ordered the pirates to back away immediately. For the first time, the hunters felt the weight of being hunted. The horizon was no longer empty. Rising out of the haze, the USS Farragut appeared. 9,000 tons of American steel cutting through the Indian Ocean at over 30 knots. Its gray hull loomed like a moving mountain, dwarfing the pirate skiffs into insignificance. The destroyer's bow threw up walls of spray as it surged forward, every deck alive with sailors at their posts. From the bridge, the captain issued sharp commands. Communications officers relayed warnings across multiple frequencies. This is the United States Navy destroyer Farragut. You are ordered to disengage immediately. Any hostile action will be met with overwhelming force. Pirates who just moments earlier roared with bravado now stared in stunned silence. Their rifles looked like toys compared to the weaponry on display. One of the Farragut's Mark 45 5-inch guns rotated into position with a low mechanical growl, locking on target. The very sound carried a message. One wrong move, and you will cease to exist. To call the Farragut just a ship would be an insult. It was a war machine. An Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, one of the most advanced vessels on Earth. Arleigh Burke destroyers carry the Aegis Combat System, a radar and missile integration suite capable of tracking and destroying multiple threats at once, from drones to ballistic missiles. Each carries 96 Vertical Launch System (VLS) cells, which can fire Tomahawk cruise missiles, SM-2 surface-to-air missiles, or anti-submarine rockets, Phalanx CIWS, close-in weapon systems that fire 4,500 rounds per minute, creating a wall of lead against incoming threats. Advanced electronic warfare suites, sonar arrays, and long-range sensors. For comparison, one destroyer like the Farragut has more firepower than entire navies of small nations, and it was now aimed at men with AK-47s in fishing skiffs. This is what the U.S. Navy represents at sea: dominance. It doesn't just show up, it overwhelms. While the pirates gawked at the destroyer, the real work began. Two rigid-hull inflatable boats, RHIBS, splashed into the sea, cutting fast toward the fishing vessel. On board were members of the VBSS team: Visit, Board, Search, and Seizure. These weren't ordinary sailors. They were specially trained for hostile boardings. Dressed in tactical gear, helmets strapped tight, and rifles ready, they moved with precision. Each man carried an M4 carbine, sidearm, and gear for securing suspects. Their training covered everything: fast roping from helicopters, room-clearing tactics, arrest procedures in tight quarters. Many had drilled hundreds of times for moments like this, and now they were executing that training against real-world threats. The RHIB slammed into the waves, engines howling, spray flying. Within minutes, they reached the Iranian vessel. Grappling hooks, ladders, and pure speed got them aboard. In seconds, the deck was secured. Fishermen were ushered to safety. Pirates attempting to linger were disarmed at gunpoint. The VBSS team moved with military discipline. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Overhead, The MH-60R Seahawk helicopter hovered like an eagle. Its sensors scanned the sea, its thermal cameras locking onto every pirate skiff. The Seahawk isn't just a helicopter. It's an airborne weapons platform. Armed with Hellfire missiles, torpedoes, and machine guns, it can strike targets miles away. Its radar can detect even the faint signature of a periscope. On this day, it played the role of overseer. Any pirate boat that tried to circle back was instantly tracked. The Seahawk's gunner leaned over his weapon, finger near the trigger. Every pirate knew, one wrong turn, and fire would rain from the sky. This single helicopter was enough to dominate an entire patch of ocean. Some pirates tried to escape, racing their skiffs toward the Somali coastline. But escape on the open sea is almost impossible when a destroyer is hunting you. The Farragut deployed more RHIBS, cutting off escape routes. The VBSS teams intercepted 2 skiffs, forcing the pirates to surrender. Weapons were seized, crates of ammunition, RPG launchers, and assault rifles. The pirates were zip-tied, their wrists bound, and loaded into the Navy's boats. Back aboard the destroyer, they sat under armed guard, silent, their once fierce expressions gone. 7 pirates were captured alive. Their weapons were cataloged, their boats destroyed to prevent future raids. By international law, captured pirates could be tried in courts in Kenya, Seychelles, or even the US. The message was clear. Piracy wasn't just a crime, it was a ticket to a prison cell. Rescues like this are just one part of the Navy's broader mission. With over 290 deployable ships, 11 aircraft carriers, and 70 submarines, the U.S. Navy is the backbone of American global power. The world's oceans are divided into fleets, each with its own area of responsibility. 5th Fleet, Bahrain, guards the Persian Gulf, Arabian Sea, and Red Sea. 7th Fleet, Japan, covers the Pacific, including the South China Sea. 6th Fleet, Italy, operates in the Mediterranean. 3rd Fleet, California, Pacific Defense, Homeland Security. Wherever there's a crisis, a U.S. Navy vessel is often the first to arrive. Earthquakes, conflicts, piracy, missile threats. The Navy's reach is unmatched. Why does the U.S. risk ships and lives in these waters? Because the Gulf of Aden is one of the most critical shipping lanes on Earth. Every year, 20,000 ships pass through, carrying goods worth trillions of dollars. Oil tankers from the Middle East, container ships from Asia, fishing vessels, and cargo haulers all move through this narrow corridor. If piracy were left unchecked, global trade could collapse. Prices would skyrocket. Energy supplies would be threatened. Chaos on the seas would ripple into chaos on land. That is why the U.S. Navy's presence is not charity. It is strategy. By keeping the sea lanes open, the Navy ensures the world economy keeps moving. The rescue of the Iranian fishermen wasn't just about saving lives. It was about sending a signal to pirates that their time was ending, to allies that America protects the seas for all, to adversaries that the U.S. Navy's reach is everywhere. A single destroyer had dismantled an entire pirate operation in hours. Multiply that by hundreds of ships, dozens of bases, and unmatched carrier groups, and the message is obvious. No corner of the ocean is beyond American power. After 2014, Somali piracy collapsed under the weight of international patrols. But threats never disappear, they evolve. The U.S. Navy isn't just fighting pirates. It is preparing for battles that will define the century. While Somali pirates once ruled the headlines, today's oceans face far greater threats. In the Red Sea, Houthi rebels launch missiles at commercial ships. In the Persian Gulf, Iranian speedboats harass tankers. And in the Pacific, China is building the largest navy in the world, challenging U.S. dominance. To face these dangers, the Navy has expanded its arsenal beyond destroyers. Hypersonic missiles, unmanned surface vessels, and laser defense systems are already being tested. Aircraft carriers, still the ultimate symbols of U.S. might, are now partnered with cyber warfare units and space-based surveillance. Every ocean is wired with American eyes, ears, and firepower. But perhaps the most powerful weapon isn't hardware, it's presence. A single destroyer entering a region sends a message. America is watching. A carrier strike group is even louder. It can control the skies, seas, and even the land. This unmatched reach means allies feel secure, while adversaries think twice. The rescue of the Iranian fishermen showed one thing clearly. The US Navy is not only a protector, but also a warning. From pirates and skiffs to nations with warships, the message remains the same. The oceans are not lawless, and anyone who dares to test that will meet the steel shadow of American power. The rescue in the Gulf of Aden was more than a single victory. It was proof of what happens when American steel meets lawless seas. Pirates and wooden skiffs may have believed they owned the waters, but when the USS Farragut arrived, they learned the truth. The ocean belongs to those strong enough to command it. The US Navy is not just a fleet. It is a promise. A promise that global trade will flow, that seas will remain open, and that no act of piracy or aggression will go unanswered. From the decks of destroyers to the flight decks of carriers, from submarines in the depths to aircraft in the skies, the Navy projects a single, unshakable message. Wherever danger rises, America's steel giants are already there. And when they arrive, the world listens.